We are back at the payroll register. Now the check numbers have been entered for you. You can continue those numbers in future pay periods. Total earnings minus all deductions will give you net pay. The taxable earnings section is for earnings that are subject to tax, but not the tax itself. We've already discussed the first two columns under the taxable earnings. The next column is FUTA, taxable earnings income column. And FUTA is a tax that's assessed on the employer. That's why you don't see a deduction in this column for FUTA with the employee deductions. We're told in figure 7.3 that FUTA is assessed on the first $7,000. So if we refer back to the employee earnings records in the spreadsheet, we can recall that Bono's regular earnings so far were $10,293.40. So he's exceeded the threshold prior to this period. As a result, none of his earnings will be subject to FUTA for this pay period. The next employee is Ferguson. Ferguson's cumulative earnings prior to this pay period were $23,125. So none of Ferguson's earnings will be subject to tax this pay period either. The next employee is Ford. Ford's cumulative earnings prior to this pay period were $6,300. Because this is below the threshold, we know that some of the earnings from this pay period will be subject to the tax. Ford had total earnings of $1,220 this pay period. So $6,300 plus $1,220 equals $7,520. So that would exceed the threshold this pay period. So we're going to take the threshold of $7,000 and we're going to subtract out the cumulative earnings prior to this period of $6,300, and we'll arrive at an amount of $700. And we will put that in there under FUTA. The next column is SUTA. Figure 7.3 tells us the employer must pay SUTA tax on the first $10,000 of gross earnings. We know from looking at the threshold for FUTA that Bono and Ferguson both exceeded the $10,000 threshold prior to this pay period. And remember that Ford had $6,300 earned prior to this pay period and has earned $7,520 through this pay period. Because Ferguson did not exceed the threshold, all of Ferguson's total earnings will be subject to tax. So we would enter $1,220 as the taxable earnings for SUTA. The next section over here is called labor cost distribution. We'll enter each employee's total earnings into the column for the appropriate department. If you look at figure 7.2 in your book, we're told that Bono is a mixer operator in the plant. His total earnings go into the plant column. We are told the department for the next 5 employees, and we enter the total earnings in the appropriate columns. Ryan is an electrician in the plant, so his total earnings go into the plant column. And the last 2 departments are given. You will total up all the columns in the payroll register.